Hello and welcome to another episode of Words with Myself.
How well do you know your ego? People spend an incredible amount of time, effort, and energy into building their identities. Yet, few of us are actually consciously aware of the extent to which this impacts our perception of the world. We all see truth, but most only experience a very few pieces of truth in their lives, and then they go to mistake that for the truth. They may draw a certain conclusion about what they believe life to be, whether that's a good existence, whether a bad existence, whether there is injustice, or whether everything's totally fair. It's typically along the lines of one sort of dichotomy, and any time that you pick a side, it's often because you don't have the information or the context as to what is in the unknown. We know what our experience has led us to know. We have experienced enough in order to form our own ideas of life. But allowing ourselves to believe that that is complete or by any means comprehensive is always going to be false, because no one single life could be enough to give you the answers and the experience and the wisdom in order to fully say that you understand life, that you understand existence. And yet many people are very resolute and absolute about what they believe and who they are. They believe that because they have been through trauma or because they have been through repeated pain and suffering, that life is unfair. They may have gone their entire life witnessing other people get given everything that they was working so hard for, that people didn't really appreciate what they had, and yet they were given it anyway. And even though they were appreciative, even though they had gratitude, all that really came their way was a series of suffering. And in which case, they would naturally draw the conclusion that life is not fair, because they believe that they did everything right, and yet their life didn't go the way that they wanted it to go. And we see this as a huge injustice, all of us. We see that we should be able to live exactly as we want to live, and for things to go exactly as we want them to go. And that is the optimal form of life, where we get what we want, where things go the way we want. It's not really a selfish desire, it's more like an optimism. We hope that our lives go this way, and some people allow themselves to really feel optimistic and hopeful that that will happen, and others are pessimistic and they say this will never happen, that there's no chance that they're ever going to get what they want. And then when two people could be living exactly the same life, but the person who was optimistic might be disappointed, and the person who is pessimistic might be pleasantly surprised because things went better than they expected them to. And yet for the person who was optimistic, things went worse than they expected them to. And that doesn't mean that either of them are wrong or you should be pessimistic versus optimistic. It is just to say that life typically lies in the middle. At neither end of an extreme, it is balanced, but it is also complex in ways that we cannot possibly understand. For instance, being an optimist might draw you to better things, closer to the experience that you want to have. If you weren't optimistic, you might never try, in which case you almost certainly wouldn't get what you want. And if you're pessimistic and you're always talking down and saying that you're never going to get these things that you want and never put any effort in, or if you do, it's half-hearted or it's not enthusiastic, then of course you're more likely to not get what you want. So there are many variables. There are many things that contribute, impact, and affect your life, and you are not aware of them all. Yet your perception wants you to believe that you are, that you see the big picture. But it's impossible. And you may decide that fate is the entirety of your life. You are governed by some uncontrollable force, and that your life is dictated to you. But if you don't take action upon that, how can your fate ever manifest? You may believe that if you don't take action upon it, then it was your fate to never take action upon it, in which case you won't. But then if you did take action upon it, you would change your fate. So you can't entirely believe in fate, and you can't entirely believe that you are in control, because neither are true, and yet both are. For us, we want some clear-cut answer. We want some principle to understand so that we can say, okay, now I know, now I will change my life. Now I can start living in a way where I know I'm doing the right thing. Because at the end of it, that's what we want to know. We want to know that our existence is justified, that we are living in the best possible way, in the right way. We are living in a way that we are supposed to be living. And it is almost paradoxical that our obsession with finding out the right way or the true path or what we're supposed to be doing, all of these efforts towards trying to control life takes you completely away from exactly what you're meant to be doing, which is enjoying this present moment, being here, doing what you want to do today, or right now, right in this moment, and being at peace with that and doing it fully and being present. You could have a conversation with someone and they be telling you, like, I can't do what I want whenever I want. I can't be present because I've got all of these responsibilities and all this stuff to do. So how can I do that? And they're really angry and upset, and they feel like, this life is thrown onto them and that they are a victim of life. And yet, if you sit down with them and walk them through some questions, they will begin to understand that they are doing exactly what they want to do. It may not be how they envisioned it, it might not be what they expected it to be, but they are still choosing to do with, in the present moment, exactly what they want to do. Because it may be that they are at work, and it may be that they're doing that for their family because they have responsibilities. But they want to honour those responsibilities. They want to look after their family. They want to go to work to earn the money to provide for their family. Now, it might be that they don't enjoy their job, and that's why they feel like they are forced to do so. And they may feel like they're forced to do so because they need the money. And that may be a really reasonable position to take, that they have to do this and that they don't presently have another option. So this is what they want to do. This is what they're choosing to do. It's only because they believe that there are all of these other eventualities, all of these other realities where they're doing things that they want to do. They've seen possibilities, and they've seen people that are news anchors and football players and all of these different jobs, and they think, well, I could be that, and I could be that, and I could be that, yet I'm doing this and I don't like this. So they are convinced that all of those different realities are superior to their own, and all of those different jobs are superior to their own. Therefore, they are forced to do this. But they're not. They want to do this. They want to do this because of the reasons that they listed, because all of those responsibilities that they have are their justifications for making those choices. And it may be that you're making the best choice with your options, and that's okay. Then you can be at peace with that and know, okay, this isn't my optimal job. This isn't exactly what I want to do, but I am doing what I want to do, because you can't change the cards that you are dealt. You can only change how you play them, because there could be one person who, in exactly that situation, even take the exact same person and split them over two timelines, and you see one version of them where they're angry, they're frustrated, they hate their job, they're miserable, it rolls them up, they get aggressive at work. It takes so much energy from them because they are upset and annoyed, and being in that mode all day is draining, and you're probably having arguments with your staff and the colleagues and the customers, and it all just takes a lot from you. So by the time you get home, you're angry, you're frustrated, you fight with your family, and then you're exhausted and you feel like you have no time and no space to do anything else. Whereas yourself in a different timeline, you see yourself making the best of the situation, of acknowledging where you're at and saying, okay, this isn't where I want to be, but I'm going to do my best at work to kind of, keep my head down, do a good job, get the most out of that opportunity, work on myself and try and develop other areas of my life and maybe open up new opportunities towards things that I actually want to do in life. Most people would see those two options available, that they could do something after work, for instance, where it improves their skills in another area, which they could then monetize and maybe get out of their financial situation. However, one person would likely make excuses and say, I don't have time, I'm too tired at work, I'm drained. And the other would acknowledge their situation and say, well, it's not going to get better unless I do something about it. And I'm not happy with this, therefore I must take action to resolve this. While I'm doing that, I also need to make the best out of the opportunity I have on the table, because that's what's feeding my family, that's what's providing for them, that's what's sustaining my requirements. So I still need to do that, and I need to do a good job at that. However, I'm going to carve out some time, I'm not going to make sure, even if it's an hour a day, do something towards something that pulls me out of this situation, that lifts me up and towards something that I want instead. And just those different outlooks, just those different perceptions of life will grandly change the outcome of what those people become. You cannot control life. You cannot make sure that nothing bad happens, and you can't make sure that not all good things happen. But what you can make sure is that you make the best of everything that you get. You try to be grateful for everything that you have, because there's always stuff to be grateful for, and you do your best. And that's enough. It doesn't matter if you get upset sometimes. It doesn't matter if you get angry sometimes. It doesn't matter if you fall off the path. What makes the difference is that you always show up. You always try your best. It really sounds cliche, but it's so true. If you just make the best of everything, then you will have a beautiful life. Because no matter what happens, it isn't dictating your perception of life. It's not controlling you and forcing you to believe that you are a victim or a benefactor of life. If good things happen and you jump on that and you say, yeah, I'm so good, I'm great, and nothing can touch me, then something will happen one day where you go, oh my God, it's all falling apart, it's terrible, and it's all my fault. The simple truth of human existence is that things happen, good and bad, and we label them good or bad, but really things happen, and that's it. We experience, and then we have, through our perception, labels that we apply to experience. We say this was a good experience, this was a bad experience, this was a boring experience, this was an exciting experience. We layer on experience with our perception. So if you know that, you know that you are dictating how your experience looks. Every time you apply one of those labels, every time you make a decision, every time you have those thoughts, negative or positive, you are building your life into something. You are affecting your experience. So you can change your perception. That is one thing in your life that you can control. You can't control the events that happen. You can't control the outcomes. You can sort of control some of the input, but even then, a lot of it is circumstance, opportunity, luck, fortune. All of these things come into play. The best thing that we can all do is to accept reality as it is. We may all agree that some experiences are bad experiences. We might all agree that some experiences are good experiences, but that is just collective opinion. It is not fact. It may be a very, very, very intense experience that is uncomfortable and painful and it hurts. But when we start to take that personally and say that, this is terrible and it's terrible only to me, or it's terrible because it's me, and you attach yourself to this experience and you say, this is my suffering. I own this suffering and I want it to be felt. I want people to recognize this suffering in me. I want them to see how much pain I'm in. That longing and that expectation is what causes the suffering. because we do want people to see it. We want people to know the pain that we're in, or if we go through an uncomfortable position, we want to be affirmed in the fact that something is uncomfortable, that it is bad. We like to feel like our feelings are validated. But the very difficult truth to accept is that things happen, and we may not understand why they happen, or we may not like that they did happen. But the universe doesn't agree or apply the labels that you apply. And if you are not enjoying your experience, you are able and allowed to change those labels, to change your perception, rather than seeing everything as torture and discomfort and painful and it's all bad and I deserve this and all that kind of rhetoric. You can set yourself free and say, it is. It just is. This is what has happened, and I must do what I must do in order to make the best of this situation. And I know that's easier said than done, but it is what must be done. Thank you for listening.